So let's take a look at number 2. So for these we have to plug in. We want to plug in our A, B, and C. So we have 4 times 2 times 2 plus 1 plus 1. PEMDAS, what should we do first?
Multiply.
Awesome, multiply. What am I multiplying first? 4 times 2. And what's 4 times 2? 8. And what's 8 times 2? So 16 plus 1 plus 1. What should I do next? Add. What's 16 plus 1? 17. And 17 plus 1? 18. So my answer here is 18. Be careful when plugging it in here. A lot of people just had like 422. They just put all the numbers together. So be careful because you're multiplying these. So when the variables are just touching each other, it means that you're multiplying. So 4 times 2 times 2. Any questions here? All right, next one, plug in first. 4 divided by 4 minus 1 minus 3 divided by 3. What should I do first here? So I want to do my parentheses first, but I especially want to do the division in the parentheses first. So if you have more than one thing going on in the parentheses, make sure you follow your order of operations still. So I don't subtract first, I need to divide first. If you subtracted, you would get the wrong answer. So I have 1. What is negative 3 divided by 3? 1. Positive? Negative 1. Awesome. Because it's a negative 3. What should I do next?
Subtract.
So what's 1 minus 1?
0.
0. What should I do next? Divide. 4 divided by 4 is what? 1. And 1 minus 0? 1. So it helps to be like as neat as you can for these problems. A lot of people made silly mistakes just because they were messy. Or they plugged in the wrong number. Make sure you're plugging in the right stuff. Be neat. Follow your order of operations. Let's look at number 6. So 6 is simplifying each expression. When it says simplify, you are combining like terms. You're not solving. In number 6, do we see an equal sign?
No.
No, so you can't put one in there. A lot of people just put in an equal sign from nowhere. We're not solving for anything, we're just simplifying. So what should I do first to simplify? Yes?
Subtract 7.
Can't do that.
Okay.
Distribute. I want to distribute, so get rid of those parentheses. So I have negative 3x. What's 7 times negative 10? Negative 70. And 7 times 7x? 49x. Awesome. What do I want to do next? Combine like terms. So I have negative 3x plus 49x. Notice how I'm just going to add them together. I don't change the sign because I'm not moving it to the other side of the equal sign. So this is just negative 3x plus 49x. What do I get? 46x. So positive 46x minus 70. And that's my answer. So you could write it like this, or you could say negative 70 plus 46x. Either way works. Just make sure that negative is with the 70 and the 46x is positive. Any questions here? All right, number 8. What should I do first? Distribute. What am I distributing? Just the 5? The negative 5. Got to distribute the negative with it. So what's negative 5 times 7? Negative 35. What's negative 5 times 7n? negative 35n. So I have negative 35 minus 35n minus 4. Do I have any like terms? Negative 35 minus 4 is what? Negative 39 minus 35n. So again, I could write it like this, or I could say negative 35n minus 39. Either way would work. All right, let's look at number 10. What should I do first? Distribute. What am I distributing? Negative 6. So my left side stays the same. It's just going to be 5n minus 30. What's negative 6 times 5n?
Negative 30.
Negative 30n. And what's negative 6 times 5? Negative 30. What should I do next? Add 30 on both sides. So what's negative 30 plus 30? 0, so it cancels out. And on the right side, I have negative 30 plus 30, which is 0, so that cancels out. So I have 5n is equal to negative 30n. Remember, I want to get all my n's on one side together. So what should I do next? Subtract. So I'm going to subtract 5n on both sides. What's 5n minus 5n? 5 minus 5 is? 0, so it cancels out and just becomes 0 there. What's negative 30n minus 5n? Negative 35n. Yes? Because if I divided the 5, let's say, if I divide the 5, 5n is equal to negative 30n. So don't write this down because it's wrong. But if I divide the 5, I would get n is equal to, what's negative 30 divided by 5? Negative 6n. I still have two n's there, because if I divide the 5, I'm left with that n still. So that's why we don't divide the 5. We want to get all of our n's to one side. From here, I would divide the 35, or negative 35, to get that n all by itself. What's 0 divided by negative 35? 0. So 0 is equal to 2, n. That's our answer. Let's look at 12. What should I do first? Distribute. Oh, my pencil stopped working. Lovely. Distribute. So I have negative 3x. What's negative 3 times negative 6? Positive 18 is equal to negative 6x. What should I do next? So add 3x on both sides. So it'll cancel out on the left. So I'm just left with 18. What's negative 6x plus 3x? Negative 3x. Awesome. What should I do next? Divide by negative 3. What's 18 divided by negative 3? Negative 6 is equal to x. Last one, 14. What should I do first? Distribute. I'm distributing that negative. So the left side stays the same. 2 plus 3x is equal to, what's negative times negative 6x? Positive 6x. And negative times 4? Negative 4. What should I do next? I can add 4 on both sides. Does it matter if I added 4 or subtracted 2? Nope, doesn't matter. At this step, you could do a lot of different things. So you don't have to add 4. You could have subtracted 3x on both sides if you wanted to. So a lot of different things you could do. Doesn't matter the order. So 2 plus 4 would be 6, plus 3x is equal to 6x. What should I do next?
Subtract 3.
Subtract 3x on both sides. So what's 6x minus 3x? 3x. So 6 is equal to 3x. And then what should I do next? Divide both sides by 3. What's 6 divided by 3?
2.
So 2 is equal to x. Awesome job. So we have absolute value equations and inequalities. So for solving absolute value equations, step one is to get the absolute value alone. So you want that absolute value all by itself. After you get the absolute value all by itself, anybody remember what we do next?
You make one negative and one positive.
Awesome. Split it. We split it to two equations, the positive one and the negative one. Other than that, we solve it just like we would a normal equation. So let's do the even numbers. 16. Step one, we got to get our absolute value all by itself. So how do I get rid of that? Divided by 7. Multiply both sides by 7. Awesome. That'll cancel out that. So I have the absolute value of 6x. What's 4 times 7? 28. What should I do next?
It'd be like 6x equals 28 and then 6x equals negative 28.
Awesome. We split it. 6x is equal to 28. 6x is equal to negative 28. So in my equation on the left, what do I need to do to solve for x? Divide by 6. Divide by 6. What's 28 divided by 6? Yeah, we can simplify this fraction. What number goes into both 28 and 6?
3.
No. 2. So I can divide the top and the bottom by 2. So what's 28 divided by 2? 14. And 6 divided by 2? 3. So this would be our simplified fraction here.
Is there going to be one like this on the test?
There could be. In my second equation, what do I do to solve for x? Divide by 6. Divide by 6. So x is equal to, lucky for us, we just did this. We can simplify our fraction by dividing the top and the bottom by 2. So this would be negative 14 over 3. So these are our two answers. When you have absolute value equations, you will always get two answers. Any questions here? All right, let's look at 18. What should I do first?
The absolute value,
How do I get rid of the absolute value?
just get rid of the negative.
What do I do?
Multiply. Yeah, multiply both sides by 5.
For 18.
Oh, I was doing 17.
So my absolute value is all by itself. What's step 2?
You just make the two equations.
Make the two equations. So negative 3x is equal to positive 9. Negative 3x is equal to negative 9. So my first equation, how should I solve for x? Divide by negative 3. So x is equal to what? Negative 3. My second equation, what should I do to solve for x? Divide by negative 3. So x is equal to what? 3. Any questions? All right, 20. What should I do first?
Multiply.
How do I get rid of the absolute values? Make two equations. So I need to split it. Once my absolute values are alone, I need to split it. So I have n over 9 is equal to 4. N over 9 is equal to what? Negative 4. What should I do to solve for n? Multiply 9 on both sides. So I get n is equal to 36. In the second equation, what do I need to do to solve for n? Multiply 9. So what's n equal to? Negative 36. So these are my two answers. Any questions? When she comes back. So you guys good with your absolute value equations? All right, let's look at inequalities next. Couple things to remember for inequalities. If we have less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, it's a closed circle. If we have less than or greater than, it would be an open circle. And then, super important, if you divide or multiply by a negative number, what do I have to do? Flip it. Flip it. That's funny. That's what I think of when I say flip it. All right, 22. What should I do first to solve? Simplify. How can I simplify? What's 6 minus 6? 0. So they cancel each other out. Next I have negative 2n is greater than or equal to 4. So what should I do next to solve for n? Divide by negative 2. So n, what do I do if I divide by a negative? Flip it. So it goes from greater than or equal to less than or equal to. And what's 4 divided by negative 2? Negative 2. So at negative 2, do I have an open circle or closed circle? Closed circle. And which direction am I going to point? To the left. That's what I think of too every time. Because we could say negative 3 is smaller, so less than negative 2. So we point in the direction of negative 3. It always works if you plug in a number for n. Just make sure that your inequality works for that number, and then you're going to shade that way. Any questions here? So that's a good question. Let's say we had n is greater than 2. Or, I'm going to do it the other way first. 2 is greater than n. But if I wanted my variable to come first, I have to flip everything. So n, notice how like the pointy part is pointing towards n. So I would have to have the pointy part pointing towards n. So I have to flip everything if you flip your equation. Yeah. Yeah. So again, like it's open towards 2. So it has to be open towards 2 here. It would be wrong if you left it. So if you had like n is greater than 2, this would be wrong if you didn't flip it. So you have to flip it if you flip your whole equation.
So
The arrow flips too.
Oh.
Do you have a question?
No.
Okay. Let's look at 24. What should I do first? Combine like terms. So since they're on the same side of the equation, I just add them together. So it's negative 3x plus 2x. Negative 1x, or just negative x. What should I do next? Divide by negative 1. What do I do when I divide by a negative? Flip it. So it goes from greater than to less than. What is 1 divided by negative 1? Negative 1. So negative 1 is less than x. So do I have an open circle or closed circle at negative 1? An open circle. And then which direction is my arrow going to point? Which way? So let's say I'm going to plug in a number. I have -1 is less than 0. Is this true? Is -1 less than 0?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to shade in the direction of 0 over here. So I shade to the right. Any questions? All right, ready for the last one? So 26. What should I do first?
Combine like terms.
Combine like terms. So what's -4x minus 3x? -7x is less than or equal to 0. What do I do next? Divide by -7. What do I do when I divide by a negative number? Flip it. So this becomes greater than or equal to? What's 0 divided by -7? 0. So x is greater than or equal to 0. Do I have an open circle or closed circle? Closed. And which direction am I going to point?
Both.
Right.
I don't know.
To the right. So I could always plug in a number for x. I could say 1 is greater than or equal to 0. That's true, so I'm shading to the right.